The 60,000 people who marched here today on the 16th of August 1819 and those who died. Today, thanks to them and those who continued the struggle, the franchise has been extended. Now all other 18 can vote. It should be 16. But essentially, we only get to choose every 4 or 5 years which set of defenders of the status quo of the market system rules over us. It could have been different if Jeremy's momentum in 2017 hadn't been so viciously sabotaged. There was a real prospect of change. So we've got universal franchise, but it doesn't extend to the economy. The ownership of industry, of commerce and of finance is in the hands of a tiny percentage of the population, even less than the 3% that had the vote in 1819. Through the 19th and 20th centuries we gained wider voting rights, tolerated by the powers that be as long as we didn't challenge their ownership of the economy. And if you do challenge that ownership, the primacy of the profit system, you get the sustained character assassination that Jeremy has suffered. We're in the middle of a cost of living crisis caused by company greed and profiteering. A crisis forcing families to choose between heating and eating. Middle of a cost of living crisis that could see gas and electricity bills rise to £4,000 or even £5,000 by next April. Okay, but it's not the same for everyone as those 4 million households, for example, with prepayment meters who this winter could face self-disconnection. The Sunday Times runs a survey every May. They found that the top 1,000 families in this country, while we had a decade of austerity, tripled their wealth to £750 billion. This year, they only counted the top 250, not 1,000, because their wealth had gone up to £700 billion. Don't let anybody tell you that if that wealth wasn't properly shared out, we couldn't afford to raise the minimum wage by 50%, raise pensions and benefits by 50%, to make life tolerable for people in this country. Ofgem plans to raise the energy cap to 4 times a year. I think wages, pensions and benefits should go up 4 times a year to keep up inflation, not to be 12 months behind. So don't let anybody tell you that this isn't a rich country. And we got 1 more minute. Can we have a bit of extra with all them feedbacks? Okay. 1 minute, let's throw the notes away. 2 things to say, in one industrial, one political. RMT, ASLEF, TSSA, CWU, barristers, security staff, British Telecom, 400 Unite disputes, 3/4 of them won in the last 9 months, 63,000 workers in my union, £50 a year, £50 million a year increase in benefits. Strikes all over. If Liz Truss wins this election, she's promised within the first 30 days to ramp up anti-trade union legislation and make it easier for the employers to sue trade unions. We've got the TUC Congress in 4 weeks' time today. I think, just like 11 years ago, when all the key unions set a same date on the 30th of November for a national strike on the pensions crisis, we need a national strike today. Against the anti-trade union laws and against the cost of living. And my second and final point is political. The problem is, I don't think we have a party in this country that stands up for working people like we need. When Sam Tariff said the mild thing that wages should keep up with inflation, he was sacked by Keir Starmer. When Jeremy fought for the nationalisation of gas, of electricity, of water, of transport and mail, all of which we need. And by the way, I do agree with Gordon Brown in the nationalisation of energy, but not temporary. The big shareholders have done £200 billion of dividends last 10 years. Let's renationalise it and accelerate the move to green energy and cut working class bills. But what are you going to do at an election? If all that's on offer to you is Tory policies delivered with either a red, a blue or a yellow rosette, I don't think the Trade Unionists and Socialist Coalition is perfect. We're certainly not big enough to do the job of representing working people in their millions. But there are unions who've been expelled from the Labour. There are unions who've left Labour, like the bakers. There are unions that are moving away from Labour, like My Union Unite. They should come together with Jeremy, with socialists like yourself, and let's see if we can build a new party for working class people. My final word is this. In 1819, people died here. People carried on the struggle. They gave us political democracy because we now have the right to vote. But we haven't yet got economic democracy. Industry, commerce and finance is owned by a tiny number of people at the top of society. We have to struggle for the socialist transformation of society, and to do that we need a mass working class party with us along that way. Solidarity!